to Your Science Connection. We're going to talk about a couple of things here. We're going to talk about a mysterious, annoying noise, and we're also going to talk about a mysterious book. It's a manuscript that it's actually a book that is unreadable. It has many illustrations and everything, but we to this day are unable to decipher it. It is a Voynich manuscript. It's 600 years old. It has many illustrations and diagrams. It was radiocarbon dated back to 1404 to 1438. It contains over 170,000 glyphs, most of which the illustrations can be divided into 6 sections, covering subjects of human biology, herbs, astronomy, cosmology, recipes, and medicine. It is unknown author. Many speculated that it was written by Leonardo da Vinci. Many speculated that it was written by Roger Bacon, both of which of these guys were very well known in the field of medicine and astronomy. The pages of Codex are vellum. There's about 240 pages there, but many are missing. So how big of a book it was, who knows? However, according to modern analysis on the book, it was determined to be done with a quill pen with iron gall ink. And after analysis of the ink and such, it was determined that it was made up of materials that were common back in the 15th century. Illustrations are and imply that the book has different styles of subject matter. Each page displays one plant and a few paragraphs of text. None of the plants, however, are identifiable. It contains circular diagrams with suns, moons, and stars which would suggest astronomy or astrology. And in the biological sense, it has figures in it, mostly showing naked women, some wearing crowns, some bathing in pools, tubs, connecting by elaborate artwork of pipes. It is said that, perhaps that it could contain recipes for baths. Who knows? Back then, it was, people bathed in different scents and oils in their water. Most of the diagrams, the circular diagrams, are of an obscure nature. Some have islands, causeways, castles, and even one diagram which might well contain a volcano. Many of the labeled drawings and isolated plants, parts and roots and such, resemble apothecary jars, which range in the mundane to the fantastical, and some even believed to have many short paragraphs which some believe are recipes. But going back to the astronomical pages, it is also believed that this drawing may very well be molecular images that it's believed that is what some plant cells look like under a microscope, which of course when this book was written there was no microscopes. This leads many people to believe that, oh my gosh, it's of extraterrestrial origins, because how would they have known what these cells look like? They weren't able to view them. There was no microscopes. Astrologically or astronomically, there was no telescopes. However, it's very interesting, these patterns, or it does look very much like cellular images. Others argue it's astronomical images. But to this day, we are unable to read this book. We know very little about it. We do know that it is parchment made of vellum. We do know that it is from the 15th century. We do know that it dates to the early 1400s. But who wrote it? We don't know. We do, to this day, we still study it. With scientists are still looking at it. Even the best code breakers in the world are unable to decipher the text. And it is well known that mankind throughout the centuries have hidden messages in text by using coding to pass secret messages during the wars, to hide from information from others. It still remains a mystery, the Voynich manuscript. You can view the pages online on the University of Yale's website if you would like further information on this or more insight on the book itself. But to this day, we are still studying it, and we can probably still learn from it as well. It looks like to be a book of medicine, as far as some scientists have determined. Now we're going to go into our time machine, and we're going to go back in time to the 80s. For our Did You Know part of the show, we're going to look at comedy of the 80s. In particular, we're going to look at this sitcom, which was hugely popular. This one right here. Seinfeld aired on NBC from 1989 until 1998. It lasted 9 seasons, and it was created by Larry David and Jerry Seinfeld. The Jerry Seinfeld starred as a Manhattan's Upper West Side. He starred with his friends and acquaintances, and also with a former girlfriend, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. It was produced by Castle Rock Entertainment and is still in syndication today. And it was a favorite and considered a cultural phenomenon. It led the Nielsen ratings in its 6th and 9th season and finished among the top 2 with NBC's ER. And it's a very well-known favorite of many people's. Not my personal favorite. I never watched many of it, but it does have 180 episodes that lasted 9 seasons. The running time of each episode was 22 minutes. Of course, you got commercials thrown in there extending it. But did you know that each episode of Seinfeld has Superman in it somewhere in the background? Well, it's even been made a sport trying to identify him. Maybe I'll take a look at Seinfeld and watch a few episodes to see if I can find Superman. That's where he's been hiding in Seinfeld episodes. For our last story of the show, we're going to stay in our time machine in the 80s. And we're going to look at, the 80s there was a lot of, the Cold War was going on. There was a lot of things and military actions and covert spy operations, and Russia was going to nuke us, or we were going to nuke Russia, on and on and on. But let's look at an annoyance in a very quaint, nice little town in California. What we're talking about is Sausalito. Many of the residents live on houseboats, and many of the residents during the summertime would hear a very annoying noise that they couldn't identify. This went on for several years. It does sound like a foghorn from a boat. However, it would annoy them to the point where many of them wasn't able to even sleep. They called in many specialists to try to identify it, and just as quickly as it came in, it would leave. However, following summers, again and again, it would appear. But what is it? It was the 80s, so they feared that it was military using sonar in the ocean. It was maybe the Soviet Union with doing military reconnaissance. They believed it could have been the Corps of Engineers. Of course, even the best scientists were skeptical about all that. They weren't able to identify it, didn't know what it was. It would come and go, sometime last minutes. However, what was it? It did annoy some people, even to the point that they moved and that they weren't able to stay around. The sound was, in fact, a mystery, and it was annoying. But, however, it was finally identified by a marine biologist. Marine biologist was able to identify it, and that biologist identified it as the toadfish. Toadfish, well, that's actually their mating call. So they are about a foot long, shaped like a big tadpole with a really big head, a mouth like a frog's. They just lie in ambush for small fish or oysters. Both males and females use an air-filled bag next to their backbone to make the loud sound. It's the male in mating season that sounds like a foghorn, and is trying to attract a female to lay eggs in his nest. There he will guard the eggs until they're hatched. The toadfish is used in medical studies because their ear canals are similar to ours. So they've been used in studies for diabetes, hearing, dizziness, seasickness, perhaps a cure for vertigo. When in fact NASA even sent toadfish on a space shuttle mission in 1997 to study balancing and the effects of without the presence of gravity. The toadfish ranges from Alaska to the Gulf of California. It migrates from the deep Pacific waters to spawn in the shallow water, common in the San Francisco Bay Area. They are nocturnal. They bury themselves during the mud by day, and at night they hover over the seabed where they try to look for prey. Very interesting fish, this toadfish. However, by studying the muscles of it, we are hoping to find such ways to treat human muscle weakness, and genetic diseases such as Nemaline myopathy. It's well known that a single toadfish can keep vibrating its muscle for 2 hours or even longer without stopping. So it does have specialized muscles just for its mating call. And that's going to be our show for today. Hope to see you next time on Your Science Connection.